Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and on our 2022 Ford F250, we're going to be installing the Curt trailer wiring harness for your bed. This is going to be great for your fifth wheel or gooseneck. That way you can plug into your bed, not have to drape that cord over, and it's just going to tie into your factory 7-way, making an easy installation. To begin our installation, first we need to find our spot where we're going to mount our plug, and generally this is going to be a good spot for it. You want to make sure that you don't go too far. We'll be using a hole saw, and our pilot bit, make sure that bit doesn't stick out too far, because once you go through here, you don't want that going through and poking the side of the bed. So I'll start slowly here. We also want to make sure that there's no wires in the way, but really we're just going to go nice and light here, kind of figure out exactly where you want it. I'm going to shoot right here, and then we'll just start making our hole. So now I'm just going to go back with my file and just kind of go around here, make sure we have some of those sharp burrs taken care of. That way it's not going to splice our wires or damage them. And then once we have that nice and smoothed out, I'm just going to go ahead with a little bit of black paint just around the edges to kind of get this raw metal coated, just to protect it over time. You can use clear coat, but since we have a bed liner here, you can use black, and as you can tell, it still keeps it nice and clean looking. So now we'll pass our double-sided plug here down. And it might be a little tight here, so just kind of try to make sure you're not putting too much stress on those wires around those sharp corners. But once we have this passed in, we'll just feed this down. And then when we get to our connector here, I'm going to just go ahead and get our plug, and I'm going to put some dielectric grease here just to kind of give it a little bit more protection, some better contact here. And now we can go ahead and we can get our plug snapped in. It can only go in one way. You should hear it kind of snap into place. Just a little clip there, and then we can kind of just feed this in. So now we're going to grab our hardware and get this mounted up. So go ahead and get this all nice and level, exactly where you want it. And I'm just going to use a little pilot bit here. Now, if you don't have bed liner, you can go ahead and use a punch to get your spot where you're going to mount it. But this will be enough for me to see to enlarge the holes. So now I'm going to go back with my 3/8 drill bit, and we're going to just enlarge these holes. So having one of your mounts handy, you're going to want to test fit it. It should be snug, but not overly tight to get through. So I'm going to enlarge this hole just a little bit more to get this in place. And then when we put the screw in, it's going to tighten this and kind of pull it in, kind of like a drywall anchor holding it in place. And so now that we have our rubber plugs in place here, we'll go ahead and get this lined up. And we're going to take our screws here, and then keeping pressure against it as we go ahead and tighten this down, it's going to cinch those up, and again holding that in place for us in the aluminum bed. Now our new plug is going to just tie into our existing one, so we're going to need to take this off, just push that tab, and sometimes these can be a little tricky, but we got that popped off. So now our wire that we fed down, I'm going to go ahead and route this over and make our connection, and then we can go back and zip tie it. Now there's a few different ways you can route it, but I'll go ahead and get mine set up and show you how I did it. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little dielectric grease here just on all our connectors. It's pretty straightforward. You can't really mess it up, as it can really only plug in one way, and this is just a jumper in between our factory one here. So we'll go ahead and connect this in. Once that clips in, give it a quick tug to make sure that it's secured, and then we'll make our other connection here. Now there's quite a bit of excess loom here, so I'm going to pull it back over, tuck this up, and get it zip tied. I think that's going to be a better spot. That way it's not interfering with our spare tire. So with the extra cable, I just went ahead and zip tied with the included zip ties up, and this will keep it out of the way. And then, you know, this is not going to fall down over time. So I just attached it to some holes in the frame here and some of the factory wire loom. So now all that's left to do is test to make sure that it's working, and I'm using a 7-pole tester here. The other way you can test is actually hooking up your RV or your trailer to it. So I have that plugged in. I'm going to hop in the truck and run through the light sequence. So right away you're going to see that the 12-volt light is illuminated, so that's saying we have our power going to it. The next thing we're going to do is our running lights. Next I'll do my left turn signal, my right turn signal, my brakes, and then I'm also going to use my trailer brakes as well. Now we did tie into our factory connection, so we're also going to want to check that to make sure that's working, so I'm going to run through the same light sequence. There's our running lights, left turn signal, right turn signal, our brakes, and then our trailer brakes. And that was a look and installation of a Curt in-bed wiring for your fifth wheel or gooseneck on a 2022 Ford F250.